in Exchange Street on Broadway, right across the street from the UFT office. It's like 873 or 9.
It's recording.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 16th meeting of the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee. The time is 7:04 p.m. My name is Jeanette Wilson. I am the acting chair of the committee. Rich Reynoso is detained at work and will be unable to attend.
I'm Lisa Blella.
Susan Perez, committee member.
Going to read the conduct statement. Community Board 11 meetings must be held in a professional and hostile-free environment. The following rules of conduct are applicable to members of the public, Community Board 11, and Community Board 11 staff. Any action or behavior that disrupts or interferes with Community Board 11 business will not be tolerated during any Community Board 11 meeting and may result in the individual or individuals being asked to leave. If the action or behavior continues, this may be considered disturbing the peace and the appropriate authorities may be summoned. If the meeting is held remotely, the person may be muted or expelled for the remainder. Repeated violations by the same person or group of people may result in further action by the community board. All public speakers must address the full board or the committee with their concerns. Electioneering for a position other than an officer of Community Board 11 is prohibited. Engaging in acts of violence, including threats, are grounds for immediate suspension of the right to attend meetings, pending review by the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee. Respect the equality, diversity, and privacy of all persons by respecting and valuing differences of culture and opinion. Refrain from unpleasant or disparaging remarks and other actions. Abstain from all forms of harassment by actively discouraging it. Disseminating false information is prohibited. So review of the minutes from our meeting of May 19th. The meeting commenced at 7:01 p.m. and ended at 8:15 p.m. We did introductions. All 4 members of the committee were present. Also present in person was the chair, Cynthia Rodriguez. The conduct statement was read. I made a remark regarding the technical glitch for posting the meeting agenda and that no motions would be made during the meeting because of that glitch. Also, because of technical glitches, whether a person was registered or not, they were able to speak during the gallery session. The review of the prior meeting minutes was tabled. I made a correction to a previous statement that was made in another committee meeting. At the time, the total number of cases that the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee handled was misspoken, and the correct number was 17. At last month's meeting, the correct number was up to 20. And those are inclusive of the cases that we will be reviewing this evening. We, as a committee, discussed both the flow chart and the complaint form. We reviewed it and edited it and made suggestions. And those suggestions, based on those suggestions, we revised the documents and they will be presented to leadership. In terms of old business, we spoke as a board about the potentially merging ethics and disciplinary with bylaws, and that will be something that will be looked at and reviewed moving forward. And we did state that cases 117, 119, and 120 will be addressed at the June meeting. I did submit these minutes. I am not sure if they have been posted on the website, but they will be posted shortly. We are going to move forward because we have 3 cases to review tonight, and I am going to just remind everyone of the following. You are requested to adhere to the code of conduct. The person who is making the complaint will have 5 minutes to state their complaint. The complaint must parallel what was written on the original complaint form. If someone would like to speak on their behalf, that person has 1.5 minutes. So far, I am aware of individuals that do want to speak. If that changes, please let me know. The person that, the respondent also will have 5 minutes to speak, and that person also has the opportunity to have someone speak on their behalf or someone speak on their behalf for a total of 1.5 minutes. If no one has any questions, we're going to get started with case 117. Grace was not feeling well tonight, so she is remote, and we're going to start. Grace, we will let you know when your 5 minutes starts. If you will unmute yourself,
Okay.
okay?
Grace, let me know when you're ready.
Oh, so I'm just gonna state what my complaint says. My complaint is based on the fact that I got tag teamed for one of my events, that I lost sponsorship because of the delay of, while I was being attacked by uh Miss Castro and Miss Kowalik and Jean DeFrancis and Larry Moriello. They delayed my street activity permit from being approved, and I lost sponsorship for it and was unable to get the necessary things I needed. However, so my complaint is that, Veronica and her friends uh just basically what do you call it? They piled on to make my event not happen. I mean, it did happen, but it didn't happen the way it was supposed to happen. And at the June, and all of this was it's all documented on the videos at the June 2024 joint public hearing, transportation committee meeting. Rabbi had made a motion to approve all the SAPOs, and I believe Hazel had seconded the motion, but then they jumped in and they made a whole big thing, and so the permit was denied. It was a different permit, but there was a permit that was denied. However, I have an issue with Ms. Castro in that when I had the complaint against Ms. Kowalik, and Ms. Castro came to her defense saying that Debbie was never a part. She denied that Debbie was part of the Allerton International Merchants Association. She said she had never been a board member of the Allerton Merchants. She simply attends meetings and helps out volunteering for events, and that she's not a board member of AIM. She has not a conflict of interest, because I believe there's a conflict of interest. So there's a conflict of interest with Ms. Castro because she is the secretary and treasurer for AIM, for the Allerton International Merchants. At the least, she should have recused herself from the transportation committee hearings when my permit was up for review. But she didn't do that. But she went ahead and defended Ms. Kowalik. However, if you go to the March 2024 full board meeting, at that meeting is when I presented my complaint against Debbie. And at that point, Ms. Castro came to the defense of Ms. Kowalik again, only this time she said Debbie Kowalik has been a very big part of the Allerton International Merchants Association. She has helped us with various events, and she has been a member of it for quite a long time. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say she's not part of it and then say she is part of it. So that right there's a disconnect there. There's a lie. That's a lie. I knew it was a lie because I have known them for years. I know Debbie has been a big part of AIM. So it just goes to show character, that they go and they say things to make themselves look good or to defend each other when it's lies. So they got caught because it's all on video. Hold on. It's all on video. It's a conflict of interest either way you look at it, for Ms. Castro and Ms. Kowalik. And I don't have any confidence in either of them to be on the board. They use the board for their own purposes, for their own edification, for their own, to make them think they're more than they're not. And Debbie's a bully. Debbie likes to bully people. So she tries. She tries to bully people. I don't get bullied. Okay. So, but there's, you can talk to a lot of people that can attest to that fact. And that's not a good character for, if she's going to be on the board, then she needs to do something. I even offered her a way out last time. She could have given me a public apology, but that was too much for her.
30 seconds.
Okay, so that's it. I mean, that's basically it. There's a conflict of interest with the both of them. There's a truth. I can't think of the word. There's no trust there as far as what they're doing. I feel like they're on the board that's going to benefit. They're doing things that benefit them, not the community, which is, I thought, would be
Okay.
why you're on the board.
Okay. Grace, do you have anyone speaking on your behalf? Or,
Just me, myself, and I.
okay, thank you. We're gonna hear from Debbie now. Debbie, same thing, please. Let Lisa know when you're ready.
Well, I'd first like to say, I thought name calling was in the code of conduct. So,
Okay, tell me when you're ready.
yes.
Okay. Stop.
Um, first of all, I hate speaking in public, but first of all, give me a moment. Okay. The SAPO in question, that's, she was trying to do an event that's similarly done by AIM, but she's trying to do it basically under AIM's original grant, because if you had something existing, it would just keep getting grandfathered over. If Grace was doing that, if Grace was trying to do that event, she would have to start from scratch. So basically, she was trying to steal an event that was not hers. And I was trying to, let her, let the other transportation members know that, with her trying to take an event, it's not like, oh, you've had this event, you just keep grandfathering it over. This was, she was basically trying to take an event, but without doing the legwork if she's taking the event. If that makes sense to, but as far as being on AIM, I am not on the AIM board. I attend AIM meetings. I help AIM a lot, just like I attend Morris Park meetings and I help the Morris Park with the parade and stuff. I attend other community meetings. I'm not on the AIM board. As it was stated the last time around to about reaching out to Conflict of Interest Board. I wrote to them, and this is what I wrote to them, and this is their response back, that for me, it's not a conflict of interest. There's no conflict of interest on my behalf.
Thank you.
I think the other pages first. So it's there. Yeah, I'm not good at speeches and speaking.
Is there anything else?
You did fine. Stop it.
So wait, this was the response from the.
No.
from
Hello is my letter to them.
Right, okay.
Hi, Debbie is their response, their whole
Okay.
response to me. The highlighted part,
Mhm.
forgot who was sitting next to me at the full board meeting, but it was one of the CD11 board members. He was looking at it, and actually, he was the one that highlighted the key points that I have no conflict of interest.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add? I think it's some time, if you want to use it.
You have 45 seconds. And she'll have to see her time?
Can I see my time?
But Debbie, you're doing good. So if there is anything else you'd like to add on your own behalf.
Not that I'm just,
Can you tell me if? Ask questions later, sorry. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You have someone you'd like.
yes.
Can you please just introduce yourself and tell us when you want your time to start?
Sure. So for introductory purposes, my name is Cynthia. I am Deborah's daughter, and I'm a resident of the Bronx. It's fine.
Tell us when you're ready.
Ridiculously cold in here.
And I'm having iced coffee.
Anyhow, I'm ready to start.
Okay.
This can be condensed very clearly. Someone's participation in the community and being active in the community should not be something that is considered detrimental. Being informed on what is happening in the community should not be considered detrimental. Stating information that you have from your community network should not be considered detrimental. My mother did her due diligence in continuing to be a community activist, someone involved in her community, making sure she was always there at all the meetings, that she was always there wherever she could in voluntary events. She crossed paths with Grace a number of times. Grace is someone who's also active in her community and should know a lot of these matters herself, also having been someone who attended many of these events, including past events where she was very well aware that it was not her event. That has been clear abundantly over time. And in CECM, that is the citywide events and CECM, it states very clearly, the community board has the discretion to be able to ask questions and make requests of an applicant, especially if they're a first-time applicant. For all intents and purposes, Grace was a first-time applicant. My mother was doing her job. She was making sure that due diligence was followed. Do I have, it's good?
4 seconds.
Okay. All you have to say, thank you.
So at this time,
Jeanette, if I may, since my name was brought up in this, I'd like to speak if that's okay.
I will give you a minute simply because the next case is going to be,
Kind of combine both the cases.
I know.
There's a lot of combination with overlap.
Right, so that's.
You know what? I'll wait till the next one, and I'll just combine both my responses at
Okay.
that point.
Perfect. At this point, if anyone on the committee has some questions, I'd first like to start. I do have a question for Grace, and then I have a question for Debbie, okay? Okay, so Grace, are you unmuted?
Yes, I'm unmuted and I was hoping for a rebuttal
Okay,
because there's a lot of things said that are untrue, but go ahead.
I'm gonna ask you a question. You made the statement that the event did happen, but did not happen as it was supposed to happen. Can you
Oh,
clarify that? What does that mean?
Yes, I had 3 street activity permits, one for the block party, one for the hip hop festival that I've been doing for, it'll be 5 years now, and one for a food festival that I was gonna put together. Because there hadn't been a food festival for about 4 years, and people in my community kept
Okay.
asking me, when are we gonna have it? So I put in a street activity permit for me. There's no way, now, if Debbie doesn't know this, she shouldn't be on the transportation committee. You cannot steal
Grace,
somebody else's permit,
Grace,
but,
my question
okay.
is, I want to know, I want you to clarify that statement for me,
The food festival was denied.
okay?
The food festival was denied. However,
You had
because
the
it
hip
took
hop festival?
because what? I'm sorry?
You had the hip hop festival then?
Yes, however, because of the delay of the approval of the street activity permit, I had sponsors that backed out of the hip hop festival and I lost money because of it. That I
Okay,
didn't have the money I needed to get the equipment that I needed.
okay, I have another question. I watched all of the videos. And different board members suggested that you follow up to find out. There was a question where you wanted to have two separate permits because you wanted to have the events on different streets. And the suggestions were made to follow up to see if you could combine it on the one street so that you would be able to have the event. Did you ever follow up on that?
Yes, I did. I was in contact with the city. The city will not allow, and even though they were two separate events, I wanted to combine the food festival, have it at the same time as the hip hop festival. One would be one event on one block and the other one would be on the other block. City's not having it. If I was to do that, I would have to pay $5,000 to have that extra street, to have that second event, even though they're two separate events. This is what the city says. Now, and that's for being on, as a nonprofit. If I was a for-profit entity,
Okay.
I would have to pay $25,000 for an extra block. So I did look into that and they told me, I tried every which way because I didn't want to close down Allerton. Figured we don't close Allerton twice,
So
but
am
they
I
were not
correct
having it.
in stating that you wanted to do two events, you wound up only being able to do one event, which was the one that you had previously done, which was the hip hop.
Right. And I
And then
barely got that done.
because of the delay, you felt that that cost you sponsorship and some money.
Well, it's not that
And
I
you were
felt
not
that
able
way.
to
That's what
do,
happened.
and you were not able to do the food festival.
Right. That was denied. That was
Okay,
denied because, again, Debbie keeps giving
wait a
people
minute,
wrong
who denied
information,
it?
but
Who
it was
denied it?
the transportation committee. They were, well, actually, they put in the recommendation to deny that one, okay? Because the full board has to basically approve or deny, correct?
My understanding from what I heard, on those videos, that if it was a repeat event, that it did not need to be discussed, but if it was a new event, it had to be discussed. And at
Yes.
the end of the day, also my understanding, being a member of this board, is we are simply recommending committee.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
but
thank you.
wait, let me just explain. I know you have to just, when it's a first time event, I did the petition. For a first time event, the community board transportation committee requires that you get, I believe 80% of the surrounding businesses for that block to say it's okay to have the event. I did that. I submitted that petition. So I did what I had to do. I had a whole different, I did not take anybody's street activity permit. I had my own street activity permit. I had my own date. I had my own everything. I could call anything I want the Allerton International Food, the Allerton Food Festival. I could call my event, any event that I hold, I can call it the Allerton Food Festival. There's no, you know, just because it's Allerton Food Festival doesn't, AIM does not own that name. And it was never started by AIM. It was started by Naomi Rivera, but when she was the assemblywoman.
Okay,
There's a whole history there.
thank you. Did you have
Yes.
questions?
Grace, you said that Rabbi denied the permit or delayed it. How long was it delayed?
Wait a second, how do I get that? Okay. Well, I believe we started, well, they started, I'm not sure if it was in January, again, because it normally when street activity permits, it used to be when street activity permits were up for review, they would call Chris would give everybody a call. He would call me and say, listen, you're on the agenda for this, for your SAPO, okay, for whatever you're doing. But then they changed that and now they just they don't call people for that. But he did call me for, I believe actually, I don't remember if I got a call for that. I think I found out somehow that it was on the agenda and I was able to go online. But this was, I believe, may have been it was either February or March. It was at the beginning of not of last year, not this last year
Of 2024.
of 2024. Right. Right. Yes, 2024. So that was the beginning of last year. And then Debbie was the first one to object to it. And then she brought in Larry. I mean, if you watch the video, you'll see everything was coordinated. And again, stating false information. But she obviously doesn't know how the street activity permit works. And if she doesn't know how it works, then she shouldn't be on the transportation committee.
Grace, I wanted to know, you said you found out that it was on the agenda for February or March of 2024.
I remember it was early,
Okay, one of those 2 months, that's fine. When was it approved? When was it eventually approved?
which, the street activity permit, which one? The one for the food festival was denied. The one for the hip hop festival, I think that was in June because Rabbi says, well, we can come back in July and we can come back next month. And they reminded him, well, no, we're in June now. We don't come back till September. So that was in June. So
And when was the food festival?
It's when.
I'm sorry, when was the hip hop festival?
that was October. That was October. So I had listen, it takes a
gonna
lot. I
interrupt.
need a lot of time. I had people that were sponsors
Grace?
lined up.
Excuse
that
me,
they-
I'm gonna ask you just to confirm something. I
Uh-huh.
did watch the videos. In the March video, there were things that the committee asked you to check out and to follow up on, and you agreed to that. I
Mhm.
then watched the June video, and in the June video, it still was not resolved and it was tabled for
Right.
either the leadership committee or the full board meeting.
Yes, and it was
Okay,
denied at the
and
full board meeting,
reason-
I believe.
and if my understanding of what I heard at these meetings, it was because at that point, you were asking to do the same event that an organization who had previously done the event
Mhm.
was going to do.
Well, wait,
And-
not so fast. No, they
Okay.
had, the only reason they decided to have plans to do a food festival because I put in for a street activity permit for a food festival. They had no,
Grace, we have no way of knowing what a person's intention
trust
was.
me.
We
I
can
mean,
only
if you
deal
look
with
at,
the facts,
you look at the
okay?
timeline, they, at that point in June, they just put in a permit in June because normally you need for the community, you need two, it used to be 3 months for the city, but now it's 2. So you need 2 months for the city and another month for the community board. So you need
Okay.
3 months in advance. So if you put in a a permit, and they just got it by the skin of their teeth. So
Okay,
June, July,
Grace.
August, September. So they just,
Grace,
wait, I'm just trying to explain the timeline. Because if you put in a permit for June and you're having an event in September, and you have to wait really till September until you get approved by the transportation committee. But that process was steamrolled through. They didn't have to go through that process.
okay. Lisa, do you have any more questions? Susan, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I think it has to do with what Lisa was asking because Debbie spoke of the event and help me here. You get funding from other organizations for it or like a grant? Did I hear grant? No, then it's my hearing aids.
Okay.
Sorry.
Me?
Okay, so,
That's what it hurts.
okay. All right, I have,
Go.
I only have one question. Prior to, and I know that you're not on the board, but I know you attend and help out at the different. So prior to this year, prior to 2024, when Grace wanted to put in a permit to do the Allerton Food Festival, what was the last year that the other group had?
Prior to COVID.
Prior to COVID. Okay,
That was the reason why the Allerton Food Festival stopped was COVID.
and another,
And
But-
as it was stated, Naomi Rivera did start that. But the Allerton International Merchants Association always, did it conjuncture with.
do you know how many years the Allerton?
Then Mark took it
Grace,
over.
excuse me. Go ahead.
Right, so
How many years?
Yes, I may. No, about 7 or 8 years.
Okay, I have one more question, because I'm not familiar with the event. When when AIM did the event, is it open to other community groups to take tables and things? So here's my question. In theory, if Grace got a permit, then AIM could participate, and if AIM got a permit, then Grace's organization could participate?
Wait, no.
is she gonna interrupt me or?
Go ahead, I'm asking you, to the best of your knowledge, because
Well,
I don't know how the event.
To my knowledge and to my witness, because Mama Rado ended up doing the food festival. And she did put up a table, but she was campaigning for whatever political position she was
So when
going
the
for.
event did happen,
She set up a table.
okay, those were my questions.
Well,
Do
can
you
I
have
just
a
say
question?
something?
Excuse me, Lisa, do you
Well,
have?
Cynthia's had her hand up. I don't know if she has a question.
Okay,
You want?
no, Cynthia, do you have a question? I don't.
I'm at the door. I can, if somebody buzzes me in, I can come in and ask.
Cynthia's coming to get you.
Thanks.
Okay,
Just lower her
do
hand.
we have any other questions?
Oh, you guys are hitting the moon.
Okay.
Like she had even.
I have a question.
Oh,
So you said that the Allerton Festival has been going on for 8 years. So that would bring us back to like 2017? My math is bad. 2017?
Yes.
Okay. And Grace, you said your event has been for 5 years?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
the hip hop festival is going on 5 years.
Okay,
The
did
food
it go on
festival-
during COVID?
I'm sorry?
Did it happen during COVID?
I started in 2021. So was
Okay.
that COVID? I don't know.
That was.
The end of COVID.
Because I couldn't have done it sooner because at that time they were not giving out street activity permits. The city had shut down.
Okay.
So nobody could get a permit.
Okay. All right, can I ask my question? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I know, I was on the highway, so, I missed part of what you said with regards to CECM, Cynthia.
Yeah, citywide events.
Can you clarify that for me?
So with regards to that, there is it's a very thorough application, so it outlines who is the applicant, if there's any additional sponsor, usually only option primarily for one sponsor. It lists, have you held this event before? It requests the date and the identifier because every single event gets an identifier.
Yes.
So we have to disclose if that event had been held in the past and the identifier. If you look back at the past events, you would then be able to figure out, I don't have immediate access to this, but that would be where it's in the details there.
No.
To my understanding, the applicant did not provide that they had been the past facilitator, that they had been doing this event. If you did not do this event prior, then you
No.
would. Can I speak uninterrupted, please?
Oh.
We're good?
Go ahead.
Thank you. You would then have a series of prerequisites. One, namely being going to the community board requesting their participation and support. The community board does have the option therein to thoroughly inspect it, to ask questions, to request, for example, a petition. If you are a first-time applicant, you may be asked to file this petition. On its face, Grace as the applicant, not the name of the festival, not the name of the festival. Grace as the applicant would have had to have done a petition if requested for the community board. That was not, to my understanding, what was done. To my understanding, it was a separate event that did happen to have a petition that was being alleged to be involved for both, when that was not, again, to my understanding, necessarily the case. The event that it did have a petition for, to my understanding, did succeed. The food festival, the prerequisites weren't fulfilled. The community board had the opportunity to inspect and say, not so sure about this.
So one of the big questions that I've had in this entire situation has been the discussion of grandfathering in my event, his event, her event. Is it a given, sort of? Do we know?
No.
If it's a given, whether or not SAPO, the city, automatically says this is their event and we shall heretofore never grant this event to
No.
another?
Can I
Or
explain?
does someone else, hold on, Grace, or does someone else have, you know, the honor, the privilege, the right to then apply for a similar event, or, you know,
No.
is my question making sense?
Ma'am?
Yes, but can I explain? I can explain the process. The problem is that you guys are not understanding the process. It's not about feelings or anything else. When you put in for a street activity permit, for example, on the question that when you're answering questions, have you had this event before? So no, I never had that event before. So if AIM put in their permit, they would say, yes, we had this event before. I never had the event before. This was my first time. So I did do the petition. I submitted that to Chris, or I sent it to the community board. I sent that out. I did that. The way it works, you put in a street activity permit, you answer the questions, you pay the $25. It does not ask you if other organizations have this name or the same name. It doesn't matter. I can call it whatever I want to call it. It's just to give a permit to have an event on a major street. It has nothing to do with who did what before, because it has nothing to do with anybody else. They could have been I could have had a food festival. They could have had a food festival. It doesn't matter. But the fact is that the community board, the committee's job is just to review the street activity permit. That's it. Not to say that, oh, well, this one had it. That was out of her purview. That should have never happened. That should have never come up. And then to accuse me of stealing somebody else's permit is an outright lie, because obviously she doesn't know how the street activity permit process works. It doesn't work that way. Everybody gets their own
Thank you.
number.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, she never put in a petition.
Okay.
for-
Yes, I did.
Okay, all right.
Okay. I have a question.
What do
All
you-
permits do not come to the community board, correct?
No, they don't.
So in theory, Grace could have just submitted and bypassed.
I believe so. Veronica, you've dealt with these longer than I have. I'm sorry.
I believe Chris goes online and he looks up in the system for upcoming events, and that goes before the transportation committee.
Okay.
So it would have come before
It
the
would have come up.
transportation committee,
Okay.
whether or not she would have brought it to the
Right.
attention.
Okay. It goes automatically to the community board from
Grace,
the
would you
city.
kindly I'm gonna ask you to wait until you are recognized. We have 3 cases to
Okay.
do tonight, and I want to give each case their proper due, but I need you to stop interrupting. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay.
Oh, we're going to vote on this one specifically and then go on to the next one.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, since only because they are related, I think it makes sense to hear the second and then for us to make our decision,
I agree.
the two of them.
Because Veronica
Do you
came-
agree with that?
mentioned, I think Veronica could have
Okay.
a chance to.
So before we go to the next case, this is what I'm going to say. The code of conduct is to be followed. You can present your facts, but not your opinions, and you ought to refrain from disparaging remarks. Are we all in agreement?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Yes. Okay. All right. Grace, you can unmute, and when you're ready, you can. We're going on to your complaint against Veronica.
Is that 119?
Oh,
Yes.
well, I thought they were combined, so
Okay.
I thought they were combined, so I didn't know, are you doing separate?
Yes.
Quick
Oh.
question to you. Because if things are combined or things are separate, I mean, I
We had
thought,
to do them separate because they were separated at former meetings, and that's the only reason we're separating them. I know that.
even
Okay.
all the names, even though all the
Yes.
names are,
Okay.
But
Grace?
can I state, we're gonna hear them, but we're not gonna vote as one. We're gonna vote one and
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to make that clear.
So Grace, if you don't have anything different you wish to say, we can just have Veronica
Mm.
speak, but
Yeah,
that is
well-
up to you. If you want 5 minutes, you may have it.
Well, I just wanted to say that everything,
Well, no,
That
she
is
wants
on
it,
my-
we have to give her.
Wait,
more time.
everything, what?
Do you
I'm
want
sorry?
to time, yes or no? Because if you do, we will
Yeah.
time you and you may have it.
Yes,
Okay, tell
Okay.
us when you're ready.
okay, I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Okay, go.
So I just wanted to say that I have everything documented from the videos, there's timestamps. So things you can see how the events took place, how things were manipulated, and how I believe Debbie overstepped and Veronica as well overstepped their role as a committee members, because their role is just to review the permit and not add their personal thing in about who they had, this one had that, and this one had this. That's not their job. Their job is to look at the permit. I had the petition. I had the petitions done. I got the majority of the businesses to agree.
He's repeating
I
himself.
put in the petition. Now, if you go and find it, then you better go talk to Chris or somebody. But I put in that petition. Believe me, I did it. I had to do it for my block party when I first started that 13 years ago. And I started with the festival when I did that 5 years ago. So I know about doing the petitioning. It's not my first time at the rodeo. So I did do that. And the role of the committee is to review the street activity permit, not to interject their personal beliefs and their personal feelings about whether or not they like it or not, whether or not they like the name or not. It's not up to them to decide what I want to call my event. They can't tell me I can't call it whatever I want to call it because they have an event that has the same name. It doesn't matter. So that's what I'm saying. They overstepped their roles as committee members, and to me, intentionally got it so backed up that I lost money on my festival that I barely got out. I didn't get the food festival. That's fine. I can always do it another time. But my $25 too. But my festival, I lost sponsors because of the delay. They lost confidence that it was going to happen, and it almost didn't happen. So they overstepped their roles as committee members. You're just supposed to review it. Do I have the right documentation? Yes. Do I have this, do that? They ask me questions, not about whether or not that I'm stealing somebody else's SAPO. Because that's again, that's also an attack on my integrity and my character, because I don't do stuff like that. So that's what I have to say.
Okay. Okay, Veronica, will you let us know when you're ready?
Yes, it's gonna be a combination of response to both complaints, just so everyone's aware, so there'll be stuff that was talked about in the first complaint that I'm gonna be responding to.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready, Lisa.
Okay, go.
Complainant stated that Ms. Kowalik is friends with Mr. DeFrancis and is a member of AIM. She is biased and should not be allowed to comment on this issue. That is a quote. Debbie is a good friend of mine, and I am proud to say that. That should not prohibit her from being allowed to comment on any issue. Debbie attends the Allerton International Merchants Association, going forward will be referred to as AIM, meetings on occasion and volunteers to help with some of the community events. Debbie is not a board member of the Allerton International Merchants Association. Those who attend the AIM meetings on a regular basis are considered community advisory members and are asked their opinions and input on community issues and regarding event planning suggestions. They are not board members and have no voting rights. At one point, the complainant attended AIM meetings herself and is very well of the differentiation. Debbie falls under the category of advisory member. There is no conflict of interest on her part for anything related to AIM. Jean DeFrancis and Larry Moriel attended the June 2024 meeting as members of AIM, as is their right. I also spoke on the subject as my right as well. I have never hidden my association with AIM. It has been documented on the CB11 website for years, and I am not only a board member, but a co-founder of AIM. I have brought this affiliation up in many meetings since I have been a CB11 board member and even recused myself from voting on certain matters if I believed there to be a conflict of interest due to my affiliation with AIM. It is unfathomable that anyone would make allegations that I tried to hide or purposely did not disclose that fact, since my affiliation with AIM is well known in the community. I would have recused myself from voting on this matter if it had come to the leadership committee, executive committee, or full board, as I would have perceived that as a conflict of interest and would have stated so at that time. Recusal from voting does not prohibit a person from speaking on an issue. When the food festival came up on the schedule as a repeat event, but with a different organizer, the previous organizer of the event should have been contacted to ensure that the complainant had any association, which in this case they did not. Then they should have to go through the steps for the first-time applicants, as this would have been the first time holding this particular event. Debbie did her due diligence as a CB11 board member, Transportation Committee member, when she contacted AIM, and as previously stated, Debbie had attended AIM meetings and was aware that the discussions with the merchants, plans were already in motion to bring the festival back for 2024, which it was held on October 26, 2024. Debbie is being persecuted for doing what she believed was her responsibility as a CB11 board member. The complainant stated that the food festival had not been put on for 4 years. The first 2 years, the reason was due to the COVID pandemic. The third year, the city was still recovering from the effects of the pandemic, and the complainant was putting on another event that would require closure of a block or two on Alton Avenue. After speaking with the merchants, it was consensus that shutting down the avenue twice in 1 year would be more detrimental to their business than it would be of benefit to them. Out of respect to the merchants, AIM decided not to go forward with the food festival. The 4th year, plans were started to bring the food festival back, but it did not come to fruition at that time. Claimant alleges that Moss Productions was the organization that put on the food festival in previous years, not Allerton International Merchants. Moss Productions was hired to organize the food festivals by the council member Mark Jonah and AIM. Moss did enter the SAPO since it was easier for them to update the documents and information needed as the organization of the food festival progressed. Claimant, as they have stated, was a friend to me and Jean and was involved with AIM events at the time. They participated in several of the food festivals, so they are well aware of the part Moss Productions had in the organization of the food festivals, along with Allerton International Merchants, despite their statements. Moss Productions was again an integral part of the organization of AIM's recent 2024 food festival and its success, and will continue to be going forward. The SAPO for the food festival was submitted by AIM on June 17, 2024 for the event held on October 26, 2024. This is within the 3-month period and was not quote unquote rushed through as alleged by the complainant. That's the first one. This one's shorter. The complainant stated that I had no right to speak either for or against their SAPO for the food festival. I, as well as anyone else, has a right to speak at the public meeting if the committee so wishes. AIM has been involved in the Alton Food Festival for several years in conjunction with Mock Productions and the councilman Mark Jonah, which the complainant is well aware of. The complainant took it upon themselves to put in the sample for the food festival as a recurring event they were putting on.
Seconds.
Okay. Basically, the statements that she says, I said in the meetings, I stand by them. As I said, Debbie is not a board member of AIM. She is advisory member. That's basically what the rest of this says. And thank you for letting me speak. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
I think I'm good. And there's no one that you want
No,
to speak on
no.
your behalf. Do we want to, at this point, allow the gallery a brief? At this point, do we want the gallery to have questions?
Yeah.
Okay, is there anyone in the gallery that would like to either ask a question or make a comment? Diana, and then Bob has his hand raised also. Diana?
He raised it first, it's fine.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
So I,
2 minutes, 2 minutes.
Hold
Hold
on.
on. One second, I'm sorry, Diana, 1 second, I just need to do the time, to change the timer. Okay, are you ready?
yes.
Okay, go.
So I was present at least one of the meetings where this happened, and I have not read the complaint, so I don't know exactly what is being complained about, but I do recall that it was a meeting that Grace was not present at, and that I was actually shocked by the way that members of the community, including Larry Moriello, who's a member of AIM, along with Deb and Veronica, basically badmouthed Grace and came up with all these reasons why her permit shouldn't be approved. And I don't recall that they all identified themselves that as members of AIM or friends of members of AIM. And I mean, I think the way that Grace was treated was not right. And the board members should not act that way, especially if someone is not there to defend herself or answer questions. I'm not really speaking to the technicalities of the requests, but just the way that it was handled. People with a vested interest in not having it be approved spoke against the applicant in a way that I thought was really inappropriate. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Diana.
Thanks.
Bob and Cynthia, and then I think Miguel has his hand raised.
Okay, give me 1 second. You ready?
Ready?
Okay.
Just to clarify, Naomi Rivera's name was mentioned. Mark Jonah defeated Naomi Rivera in 2012 and took office the following year. Now, so if Naomi Rivera held the event or sponsored the event, it would have to be 2011 or 2012 before Mr. Jonah defeated her. That's one point. And that's basically it. I wanted to let you know when Naomi Rivera was in office, and it was MAS marketing that did promote it, because I attended these the celebrations many times.
Thank you. Cynthia?
So this being in regards.
Wait 1 second.
Sorry.
I need to start the timer
Just as
again.
point of clarity, with regards to Veronica.
Mhm.
As I understand it, Veronica came as a community member, not as any member of leadership, not as a member of transportation. She came to a public meeting, as all of us have the right to do. She gave the context and information that she had available to her. That is her wealth of knowledge. We should be empowering people to share the knowledge that they have and being able to provide that insight, provide that clarity, just as Mr. Press just did himself in disclosing, hey, maybe this record might be a little bit not fair and needing checking clarity. We want to do our due diligence. We always want to do our due diligence, and that needs to be what is the core point of it all, not friends having disagreements or ex-friends or whatever people may be to each other. It should be on the facts. On the facts, Veronica provided the information that she had available to her to give that to the community so that they can make an informed decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miguel?
Well, I have facts.
Okay, Miguel, wait 1 second. Let me just do the timer.
Sure.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Go.
Okay, so the idea that Debbie's being persecuted is ridiculous. You know, Grace said something about her being a well-known bully, and that is the truth. My second thing is,
No, we can't do that.
Miguel? Can't do that.
okay, well, then it's well known that Ms. Kowalik has been unkind to many people. And Miss Cynthia's saying that her mother was doing her job by being informed is hilarious, because she has used previously the defense that she was not informed about several things. So I think that's kind of, I mean, it's like, are you gaslighting us, really? I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh well, I didn't get the email, but then, you know, I did get it. So I mean, this is just
Nothing to do with this.
Thank you, Miguel.
thanks.
At this point, I think everyone has spoken. I'm going to give Grace a minute to rebut. And then we will move forward to discussion. Grace?
How long does she have?
She has a minute. You have 1 minute for rebuttal.
1 minute, wow.
Mhm.
Well, just to
Tell me
reiterate,
when you're ready.
ready? So just to reiterate, this isn't an issue about being informed and giving information. They put in information that was irrelevant to my street activity permit. They muddied the waters on purpose. If that permit for the food festival had been called Grace's Food Festival, or the Barnes food cart festival, or whatever, it wouldn't have been an issue. But they made it an issue because I called it the food festival. I called it Allerton Food Festival, which is my right to do. I can call it whatever I want to call it. It could be the same name, it could be a hyphen, it could be whatever. But it wasn't their job to bring that in and say, well, this has been an ongoing event. No, because it was a separate event. It was a different event. It wasn't put on by Moss or by which Moss has always been the one putting the street activity permit in and doing it. And Allerton, I'm sorry, I
Thank
can't
you.
hear.
Time.
Oh,
If the
okay.
committee
All right.
no longer needs us, we'll sit back on the sidelines. Please, thank you.
Ouch.
Okay.
May I? I would like to give an opinion before discussion begins.
Could I give an opinion first?
Sure.
Thank you. This is what I'm going to say. I think I'm at the 3.5-year mark now on the board. And I can say that during my tenure, we have made some positive changes, and we are in a better place, and we still have work to do to get to an even better situation. I watched the videos of the meetings where this situation unfolded simply because I was not at the meetings and I wanted to come into this meeting informed. Had our code of conduct actually been enforced in those meetings, I'm not quite sure that we would be here right now. And that It was a different culture, it was a different climate. We can't change the past, but I'm really glad we're changing the present and the future. The one question that no one asked throughout this whole procedure, because I listened to everything, and what's clear to me is who doesn't like whom. But that has no place here. When we come and we're on committees and we come here, this is not about personalities and whether we like each other or we dislike each other. It's respect and working together for the community. The majority of what I heard tonight is a lot of who doesn't like whom. And that's not something that we're going to vote on or discuss or do anything about. The one thing that concerns me is one simple thing. If one organization has done something for several years, whether they've partnered with other people or not, if I was a community leader who wanted them to plan some kind of event, I wouldn't take it for granted that that organization who has done events in the past is not doing one. I might simply pick up a phone and say, are you planning to do your event this year? Because if you're not, I'd like my organization to do this with the community. And I believe if that one phone call had happened, again, we wouldn't be here right now. So I listened to the facts. I wanted to share those 2 points of view. And I'm not taking anything away from one organization or the other. I also heard that from what I listened to on those videos, if you want to do 2 events and one of them is existing and that will pass, don't link them together, because then the hip hop one could have just gone straight through and sponsorship and things wouldn't have been lost, because you're saying they're 2 separate events. They can't be separate but the same. If you held back the one because you wanted 2 and then you wound up only getting 1, you made that decision to hold back, because that's not the one that what I heard in the meetings was being questioned because it was an existing event. So I think we've gotten here for different reasons, but whatever decision that I make tonight, I'm going to make based on facts and not opinions and not who I like or dislike. Go ahead.
Had, similar to what you were saying, had the proper structure been followed, I saw the videos, and one of the things that stood out to me was that at one particular in one particular meeting, the gallery session had already closed. I believe the committee was ready to move forward with a vote. And Debbie said, do we want to hear from Larry? And I remember distinctly the look on 2 of the committee members' faces, because they were like, what, and then it became a sort of personal thing that the community board got inserted into. If the gallery was closed, it was closed. If there was a time to give opinions or thoughts or whatever, it should have been done in the gallery. We should not have deviated. That vote should have moved forward the way it was scheduled to be done. As far as conflicts, I know that Debbie furnished us with what she got from the Conflict of Interest Board. Veronica's been clear on her position with AIM. My only caution to all of us as board members moving forward is that just because something doesn't rise to the threshold of an actual conflict of interest where I'm being recompensed for my activity in something, or I'm enriching myself with something, sometimes, even though it doesn't meet the criteria, doesn't mean that we shouldn't look at what might look a certain way. You know, optics do matter. And, you know, I've gotten grief about it in different situations. Optics matter. So even though maybe your situations don't meet, you know, conflict of interest, maybe just, you know, moving forward, being a little more cognizant of those things. That's, you know, that's my advice to all of us on the board, is, you know, following structure. And again, somebody said something about our place, our role in that committee is the criteria met? Or is the paperwork filled out? Okay, is this in order? Yes or no? Not, oh, but this guy always did it and that person always did it and now they've got beef and this and I found it highly inappropriate that we got sucked into that back and forth. So that's all I have to say.
Susan, anything?
I do have one thing to say.
Okay.
There was, Grace had made the accusation that if her food festival had been named Grace's Food Festival, it would have gone through. And I don't think that's fair to say, because we don't know. We don't know if she had named it Grace's Food Festival, whether it would have come up with, there would have been questions. So I don't think that was a fair accusation.
But there was no petition done.
Okay.
So it's doing Grace's food festival.
Yeah.
This is going to be, this is where I believe we're at, and this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to stand on several things. In the meetings I watched, the code of conduct was not enforced. And had it been, and you can't go back and change the past, I think things would have been different. I think that when you are on the board, you are held to a different standard. So I don't think it's a conflict of interest to support things you feel passionate about. I think that you walk a fine line if you know that there are people who may support your opinion and then you encourage them to speak. You have to figure out where you fall in the line. I think that we are, as a board, growing, evolving, and changing. In terms of the facts that were presented to me, I think that it should have been handled differently, but I do not believe that this is, the only thing that I can see happening here is, I think that as a full board, we need more trainings,
Structure,
and we need to
protocols.
follow the protocols and the structures that we bring to the table. I also think that, and I said this at our last meeting, there is no place, I believe, in the community board for anything called a disciplinary committee, because we're not disciplining anyone. We're making suggestions so that we can all be better and more effective and serve our community better. And I would like to see, when we come together for something like this, instead of, I believe this person did me wrong and I want an apology, is, well, maybe I could have handled it better. Maybe they could have handled it better. What can we do so this doesn't happen again? Because this takes time away from things that each and every one of us could be doing to serve our community. So I don't know that we have any other, my suggestion for the resolution of these two cases is to recommend to leadership the following. Keep working on improving and strengthening the protocol, the procedures, enforcing the ones we have in place, ensuring that the code of conduct is followed. I hope leadership agrees to the changes that we suggested for the ethics committee procedure, because I think it's a step in the right direction. And I think that what we can do for Grace is acknowledge that, yes, it could have been handled better. I think that what we can do for Debbie and for Veronica is we can all benefit for some more structure, better procedures in place, and maybe possibly some training.
I agree. I agree.
Suze?
I totally agree. And in the protocol and the structure, maybe as a full board, creating that so that and I mean, we have that protocol already within our committee meetings every time we sit at this table, but I think they need to be broken down even deeper, like we did with the chart last month. So I second everything you guys have said.
I also think, to be perfectly honest, and I want to acknowledge that I think that as a board, we are growing and improving.
Absolutely.
Debbie, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you in this meeting and you in the meeting previously where we discussed the same case, just saw so much progress. And I just want to compliment you on that. You know, you were able to sit down and I know I shouldn't say that. You stated you're not good at public speaking, but you did
You
well.
did a great job.
And you presented facts and you showed growth from the last meeting to this one. And that's all we can do. You know, we can strive to be a little bit better. So in terms of these cases, Grace, you can unmute if you would like.
Yes.
So I trust you heard everything I said. I believe as a board, and I do not think that things were handled as well as they could be in your situation.
Right.
Okay, and what I am recommending is something that could not just benefit you, but benefit all of us. Our recommendations in resolving this case is to see that there are better policies and procedures and protocol in place, and that there is a bit more training for the board members so that any kind of situation like that will not be repeated.
Right.
And I thank you for your time and your patience.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, you can.
I believe if you're gonna be on the transportation committee, you need to know how the process works. And I would be more than willing to hold a training session for them to show them how the process works. You know, it's not about,
Appreciate that. Grace, I appreciate that, and I will pass it along to that committee, okay? Thank you.
Well, why don't we suggest to the transportation committee, because since this was a couple of permits involved, with different people, why don't we suggest to the transportation committee, or recommend, that we can have somebody, I don't know, whoever's a SAPO expert, not Grace, because you're,
that would be
you're
me.
involved with us, but someone who can come in.
But I know how to switch hats.
No, I know, Grace.
But that would be an excellent suggestion.
You know what I mean? And then,
We all affiliated with organizations who could benefit by that information.
right.
So yes, so we'll add that to the recommendation. Thank you. Okay, so we have successfully resolved.
I need to know.
Yes,
Can I also slightly make a suggestion?
Yes.
On the transportation committee thing?
go ahead.
Other community boards don't just rubber stamp. There's always a discussion.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Repeats should be evaluated with fresh eyes. I don't think we should be rubber stamping them. And,
Okay.
yeah.
Good suggestion. Okay. Do people need a minute before we just go to case 120? Okay, 5 minutes. Sorry, people online.
Ma'am, those two people just wanted to know what was going on. So I told them it was a meeting, I showed them the paper.
Oh, thank you.
But you know, you just walk it by to see the light on. So I just told them we're having this, they do whatever. You never see. And then we had the CB11 thing.
I appreciate you doing that.
Do you know the mic's open?
It's hard for me to.
Oh, Jeanette, can
So I thought it might have been members.
somebody for a minute?
Sorry. Off on decorating, we have walk till 2:30, 3 o'clock. I didn't get home till
What is actually happening right now?
We are taking a 5-minute break.
Oh, okay.
Stop. All right. That's enough.
Miguel, my dear, you are unmuted.
Yes, I know.
I think that we should all mute ourselves.
Oops. Well, I'll be the first person to speak, right?
Yes, but don't say anything until the meeting resumes.
Thank you, my darling.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you for your patience. We are moving on to case 120. Miguel, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that, I mean, I have 5 minutes, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. With regards to, I feel like these are all kind of coming together. So, I mean, I have to respectfully disagree with just an apology because this is not about personality. I actually really like Debbie personality wise. But there's a pattern of behavior here of bullying and stonewalling that is problematic. And I think that it's gone unchecked for quite some time. And I really think that, for instance, I was removed from the board for making an unfortunate gesture, but Debbie has continually been displaying this behavior and it has gone unchecked. And I don't believe that is, that you can say that, there are a million excuses for your behavior, but she is a member of the community board. And it comes down to the code of conduct applies to everyone. And we all signed it, when all of us respective when we were on the board. So it seems to me that there should be a course of action at this point because this is not simply just my opinion. You can watch the video. There is video of the incident that I described in my complaint. And
Miguel, would you simply state the incident so that everybody who hasn't seen the complaint form is aware of it?
well, I trust that you've all read it.
Yes, but there might be someone in the gallery that wants to respond. So
In a very brief summary, at the parks meeting in February, was it? Is that was a question? And I'd like to reclaim my time also.
I stopped the.
I think it was December.
February 13th.
February.
Okay.
So
So my complaint was about Ms. Kovalik's behavior at the end of the February Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. She was very, very extremely disrespectful to myself and Ms. Finch. And the details are in the in the complaint, and that is public information.
okay.
Okay, Miguel, are you done? Are you
Is
completed?
that sufficient?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm done. I would also like Ms. Finch to be able to speak. Thank you.
Okay, you have a minute and 30 seconds left. Do you have anything else?
I do not. I'll give it to her.
Okay.
No seating.
Mike,
Diana can speak when she's ready.
okay, wait 1 second. She
How
has a
long?
minute. 1 second, Diana, you have a minute. She has a minute and a half?
Yes.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Tell me when you're ready.
Okay, I have not read this complaint, but I trust that it is what I think it is and that everyone who needs to rule on this has read it. So yes, my concern is just the behavior and the sort of hostile atmosphere that Deb Kowalek's behavior engenders. And I want to stress that it's a pattern. It was not the first time that I was rushed out at the end of the meeting and not allowed to like linger and chat with Janice Walcott, you know, that we're working on projects together outside of the board. And it's not the first time that I have been abruptly cut off after the 2 minutes, you know, mid-sentence. And it was not the first time that my gallery statement was interrupted. You know, she said at one point, "You can't say that," as I started to say what I wanted to say. And I had to say, yes, I can say that. And I also think that this attitude, it unfortunately spills over to the Parks Department officials who come to these meetings. They're treated rudely. In fact, one called me after the last meeting where they presented to thank me for having spoken up and apologized for the tone of the meeting on behalf of the board members. And he said that he didn't want to say anything during the meeting because he didn't want to embarrass anyone.
Thank you. Time.
Sorry.
Debbie?
Let me just. Okay, tell me when you're ready. Ready?
Yeah. Well, as he's stated, yes, I do wake up at 4 a.m. So for a meeting to continually go on till 9 p.m. and then when the meeting is over, for them to have, you know, their own little discussion while I'm trying to close up, to go home, to go to sleep, to transport children. I'm sorry if it seems crass, but I was up for over 12 hours, you know. So, I mean, if you want to talk to somebody, you got the public street. The meeting's
I'm
over.
very sorry,
Let it-
my video went out, because my iPad went, so, whatever that, Ms. Gwalik is saying, to be fair for her, I would like to hear it. My iPad died, I'm so sorry.
So what are you asking?
For her to repeat.
She
I'm
needs to
asking
repeat
for her to
everything?
repeat her retort, thank you.
I apologize. Can you start over? Okay, I'll start the time again. Okay, ready?
Yes, like he stated, I do wake up at 4 a.m. Meeting's over approximately after 9 o'clock. I don't know what time the thing ended, but I'm assuming around 9 o'clock. So I'm, you know, yeah, I've been up over more than 12 hours. I'm trying to close up the office so I can go home, so I can go to sleep, so I can wake up the next morning at 4 a.m. to transport children. You know, if you want to have a discussion with other people that have attended a meeting, you got the public street. I've gone to other community meetings, and when time's up, you gotta leave. You gotta leave. You know, I find it unfair that I have to put my sleep aside for people to hang around and have, you know, have their little discussion instead of me going home. So, you know, I really, I really don't know what else to say. I know I did not say some of the stuff that has been written here. So, you know, yes, I did say that I get up at 4 a.m. to drive a bus. I did say that. But, you know, I know Janice was there and she, when I had spoke with her, she knew that I needed to go home.
Finished?
I guess.
Is anyone speaking for you?
Just give me 1 second. Sorry. Whenever you're ready.
Sure.
Okay.
So on this particular matter, if a meeting is over, a meeting is over. It has ceased to commence. It has to wrap up. People have to go home. They have to lock up the facility, this facility that needs to be taken care of. And the community board members that are charged with the care of this facility do need to be able to do that operation. That was due diligence. Even if someone is very abrupt in their remarks where they're just stating very plainly, meeting is over, you have to go home. Meeting is over, you have to go home. That's just a very clear directive. Again, there is an alternate forum that someone could take if they want to have a private conversation. They can go to a mutual friend's house. They could go out into the street. This was not the time or place for what had happened to be what was happening. She was simply stating, meeting's over. It's time to go. On an earlier matter, as I asked my mom about this complaint pretty extensively, I asked my mom a million questions just because I wanted to know what.
30 seconds.
Okay. There was a separate altercation that was alleged to have happened that did not happen whatsoever. There was
Sorry, wait. If you're gonna talk about, is it mentioned in there?
As I understand it, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, as I understand it, yes.
All right. Sorry, Lisa.
Okay, go.
That there were other notions that did not happen whatsoever in terms of an exchange that didn't even happen at the time that it was said to happen, because I, after work, had to spend my time to listen back to meetings after meetings after meetings after meetings. And this has been something that has gone on just because of personal disputes instead of the actual merits of what something is. It's exhausting.
I'm confused. What is it that?
May I clarify my remark?
Well, if it's in the it's in the complaint?
Yes.
I'd like to get whatever time she gets extra.
I'm going to actually take the time to read the complaint because that, I think, will help all of us. Okay. I'm writing to appraise of my opinion and make a formal complaint about a pattern of behavior of a certain board member, namely Deborah Wallach, who has flagrantly and blatantly conflagrated the manner and spirit of the Code of Conduct of Community Board 11. Although this is an ongoing issue that I have been concerned about over time, I will direct my complaint to one meeting and the happenings thereafter. I realize that time can be a confounding factor in evidence gathering, so I will summarize. The video of the meeting speaks for itself. As you can see, if you are so disposed, after the 11 o'clock mark of the meeting, Ms. Kowalik is outwardly crassly dismissive of all speakers that appeared, including myself, reminding them of time limits and such. Interestingly, she interrupted several speakers, including me, to express her opinion when she was not addressed personally. Delgado to respond to a constituent when Ms. Delgado is not a committee member or board member. She also allowed Ms. Delgado to respond to me, which is a privilege no one in the gallery is ever allowed. After the meeting was adjourned, Ms. Kowalik, in a very threatening, dismissive, and confrontational manner, directed myself and Ms. Finch to leave immediately. Ms. Finch was simply having a conversation with Ms. Walcott. In doing so, she was wholly inappropriate. This was directed just at she and I, as Ms. Delgado and Ms. Lutnick were still in the office. You need to leave. You need to get out of here. I am responsible for the office. I have to get up at 4 a.m. to drive my bus. I was so appalled at the situation that I calmly told Ms. Kowalik that we need not yell and we could talk to each other with respect. Not satisfied with that, Ms. Pollock yelled, "Get out," to which I responded, "Debbie, remember, this is our office too." At that point was moot in that I accompanied Miss Walcott to the door and, not wanting to have her wait outside in the cold, stayed with her for approximately 5 minutes until Miss Pollock was ready to leave. I did not raise my voice. I am keenly aware of my history and would never invite scrutiny upon myself. This is a troubling history of abusive and irrational behavior, and I feel the need for the Ethics Committee and possibly the Borough President's Office to address it. I'm going to say, Debbie, you had some time left of your 5 minutes. Do you want to address the rest of those things?
Well, for one thing, I didn't yell.
Wait 1 second.
I also have a minute 30, I do believe.
Yes, yes. I think in all fairness, but you have a minute there.
I did not yell. You know, I know my daughter always is telling me, because of my hearing issue, my daughter's always telling me to lower my voice. I may have had a loud voice, but I was not yelling. And I did not yell, "Get out." I did not yell, "Get out." Like I said, yeah, I did state that I get up at 4 a.m. I gotta drive a bus. As do I got to drive a bus tomorrow, but yet I'm still here. And as far as him even mentioning Roxanne's name on here, we all know trying to, you know, trying to stop her from talking when she's talking can be very difficult. And other people included, like, I really don't, I don't want to call out the situation, but, you know, even when, Miss Finch, is saying that I'm cutting off on time, there's times she asks, there's a meeting passed that she asked for an extra minute. And I'm telling her, time's up, time's up. She ended up going over 5 minutes before she finally stopped. So I don't know where the line is. If we're telling you you have 2 minutes and you have 2 minutes and you don't stop at 2 minutes, where's the line? I'm sorry if I'm cutting off somebody in their mid-sentence, but if you're not stopping at your time, I'm sorry, I don't know where that line is.
Finished? Okay. Miguel, when you're ready, let Lisa know, so you have your minute 30, and then we'll move to see if anyone else has questions or comments.
Lisa, I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, so the idea that Cynthia's basically called me a liar and said that the situation didn't happen. I think that's really rich because it's on tape. Like, someone has a video of it. So it's really obnoxious to even say that didn't happen. And again, this is not about personality. This is not about, look, we all have jobs. We all have to get up in the morning. Cynthia Rodriguez goes and delivers babies for 12 hours every day at 7 a.m. This is not about what you have to go do. This is not about your personality. This is not about whether I like you or not. This is about the fact that you absolutely were obnoxious and dismissive and disrespectful. And it is a pattern of behavior. And I will leave that there.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? We have to do. I'll get to the gallery.
I don't know if it's appropriate for me to ask to consult with you for just 1 second.
Give you the second. Step into my office outside.
Can't go out that way. I'm just saying.
Sorry.
Technically, you could go out that way, you have a small space.
Yes, you are.
Oh, I forgot the gate was down.
Anyway, how's the weather over there?
Cold.
Chilly.
It's cold?
I don't know. I think that.
Oh my God, it's hot as hell here in Michigan.
What? Cold and rainy.
It's very hot and here in Michigan, it's like 89.
What are you doing in Michigan?
My father had 2 strokes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Already here.
Yeah, so I'm here picking up the slack.
Wow. Well, I hope he gets better soon.
Thank you, darling. I just took him to physical therapy, and yeah, he's in much better shape than he should be. So I'm pleased. And Waffles is as bad as ever.
Huh?
Waffles is as bad as ever.
I don't watch the video. I have no time.
Yes, Jen.
Mics are on.
That's okay.
That's a mic.
No, just saying.
I don't know why, like, I was just like, oh, no.
What did you
it's
say
part of
they
the
were-
car.
I'm just insulting you.
Antenna, stickies
It's in
for
the
the.
car.
What was the date on the?
February what?
13?
February 13th. It was the meeting where,
But the
The skate
video
park was
would have
presented.
stopped. Just question, Debbie, the video would have stopped at the end of the meeting, so we would not.
For
be able-
that part.
We would not.
But
be able
if
to-
he's referring from the 11-minute mark, he's referring to in the video. Like I was just letting you know.
But
She
there
was-
does
She was
exist
watching,
video
she was
of
watching the whole video just before you guys came in.
I'm not speaking of the video that is on YouTube. Although you can see from the 11-minute mark on the video when you started acting in an unkind manner. However, there is video of the end of the meeting after that happened.
Jeanette.
Yes, no?
No.
Please.
And you know that.
Lisa
Debbie, come
and
on.
Susan?
I did not.
Sorry.
Talk all you want outside. Excuse me. Excuse me. I need to go to sleep. Y'all need everything. Y'all need to leave. Thank you. It doesn't matter, but I'm responsible. You're not the one that's getting up at 4 a.m. driving children.
She brought him here.
As you can see, I was not the one that raised my voice.
Anyone have any questions? Any questions?
I don't want to pry if you don't want to answer, but you do say that you do have a hearing issue, so that does
Documented,
cause you to maybe
Yes.
speak a little louder than,
especially if
because you can't
there's,
hear yourself.
right.
Okay.
It's
But
documented.
this is not about volume. This is about content.
At this point, do you want to see if anyone in the gallery wants to have a question or a comment, and then we discuss?
Grace and Diana and Ronnie all have their hands up.
Okay.
And Barbara.
So,
Well, you can go first.
So Ronnie, Cynthia.
yes, Ronnie, Cynthia, Grace, Diana. Bob, did you have your hand raised? Okay, go ahead.
So I came to one of these meetings. Roxanne and I had gone to something the day before they wanted to talk to refugees. I get here late, somebody lets me in. It's an all-out brawl here. There's that little old woman that's in charge. She might not even weigh 90 pounds. She's pushing everybody towards the door. So now I'm getting behind this little old lady because she goes down, there's gonna be a big problem. So now she's screaming and yelling. And now I'm feeling sorry for everybody. Now I'm breaking up Roxanne and Finch. I drag everybody away, and there's this little old lady standing there, eyes are bugging. But, you know, she only weighs 90 pounds. You gotta have a little courtesy for somebody that's old and that small. Can't be making believe you're at 54 and pushing everybody out the door at 4:30. Gotta be a little easy, you know, you gotta see the crowd.
Okay.
My time or no?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
I don't know if she started.
You ready?
Yes. A minute and a half. Correct.
All right, so two pieces. One, the portion that was during the course of the meeting. Again, that exchange did not happen. I watched the entire CB11 live stream. Didn't happen. In fact, there were multiple opportunities in which multiple members got the chance to be able to provide more input in the interest of providing more community input. At a certain point, it did need to come to its conclusion. It did as such, and ended peacefully. The people that needed to follow up thereafter followed thereafter. The conduct after the meeting, the office needed to close. Again, I've stated it before, the office needed to close. Unfortunately, there were people that were refusing to leave. What is someone to do if there are people refusing to leave a facility that is closed? Please ask them to leave. As I understand it, that happened. Yes, my mother cannot hear herself half the time. Half the time she sees me go like this, it's, you're a little loud, you're a little loud. Constantly having to bring her volume down because she doesn't know how loud she is. And she's just trying to get her point across because she's trying to be heard. And she's trying to hear what is going on despite everything.
Okay. Grace?
Yeah, so I agree with Miguel. It is a pattern. And I understand if you have to get to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, then either have somebody else close the office, like Chris or Jeremy or somebody else who can stay there, or resign from the board, because this has been years of this pattern of her attitude. You know, understand, I have a hearing problem too. Okay, now you all know, but I don't go
Grace,
telling
we're only
anybody.
going to talk about this.
I'm just saying, there's a way to speak to people and there's a way not to speak to people. And if you're going to be in a professional capacity as a board member, then you need to know how to speak to people a certain way. Regardless of how you may feel, you can hate the world, but you better treat them with respect and you better talk to them the right way. Otherwise, you get this. This has been a problem. She speaks down to people. She talks about people. She has an attitude. Even when she was talking just before, she had that attitude in her voice. And as far as a code of conduct, she's always interrupting and she never stops talking. At the last meeting that we had, when Naomi was there, she wouldn't stop. She kept interrupting, and nobody said anything about it. This is what she does. She interrupts and
30 seconds.
she downplays things, and then she wants to act all innocent. This is not the first time she knows she has a hearing problem. This has been going on. I know Debbie for years. I know from when Cynthia was a child. She's known about her hearing. So either do something about it or learn how to regulate your speech. This is nothing new, Debbie. People, everybody. This is not a new thing. So to use that as an excuse is a cop out. That's what it is. It's an
I'm sorry,
Yes.
that's
Okay, so it's not
inappropriate, because
appropriate.
I have a hearing issue too,
Very
and no need to tell her how to deal with her hearing issue. I apologize, but I have the same
No.
issue,
No.
and I have hearing aids, and I heard Grant earlier, so
Who?
please.
Okay.
Grace, I mean,
Diana.
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate that in terms of ushering people out abruptly at the end of the meeting, it was that she pointedly told me and then Miguel to get out, while Janice and Roxanne and Jacqueline were allowed to stay and take as long as they wanted to gather their stuff and go out. And it was freezing cold outside that night. And we were just chatting, just the 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes after a meeting when you chat about maybe other things. So it just seemed very inappropriate on top of the repeated pattern of interrupting people when they're giving their gallery statements, telling them, no, you can't say that. We're not going to do that. You're not going to go there with whatever we want to say, and abruptly cutting people off when they reach their 2 minutes. Just have the courtesy to let somebody finish their sentence, especially if it's a parks official. I'm concerned about how the board comes across to the agencies. I think we have a lot of work to do on that front.
that's Christine.
Christine?
Hi, everyone. I hope that you can hear me. I just wanted to share with you that I know that after the meeting, Diana Finch and Miguel did express how upset they were at Debbie's behavior. They did mention all of the same talking points they did now. And I too have observed her behavior. It's not just rude in person, it's also she's pretty rude online as well, on social media. I think that, yeah, there steps should be taken to, you know, address these comments and these behaviors. Thank you.
Debbie, before we discuss this as a committee, would you like to rebut?
Yeah, for one thing, I was definitely not shoving out Janice because I drive her home. I was, Janice and Jackie, as committee members, they had the right to be there, because if I would have been like, all right, here's the keys, you lock up or something, they could totally be doing that. But, for people to be saying I'm shoving around a 90-pound woman is a lie. I'm not shoving around any, and Janice would totally tell you that there's no way if I've ever shoved her around. So if it's people to be saying I'm shoving her around is a bold face.
No one ever said that.
Miguel?
Somebody
No.
here said that.
Go ahead.
I guess I was born.
Okay, questions? Susan, questions? So I'm going to state a few facts. February was probably pretty full. The culture of the meetings that I have been to, usually people do linger afterwards and have conversation. I'm going to interject a question. Did you tell everyone to leave? Did you make an announcement for everyone to leave? Or did you talk to people individually?
No, I believe I generally said that y'all had to leave,
Okay,
referring to those here. I don't recall if I did or didn't, and I'm assuming I did drive Jackie home that particular day too, because it was February, which means it was already dark. And like you said, it was cold.
okay,
So I do believe I even drove Jackie home.
okay. So I'm going to say the following. And again, now I am expressing my opinion. Okay? First of all, too many times for my comfort was your hearing issue referenced in tonight's meeting. And I commend you for the way you handled it. It is a fact, and it should have just simply been a fact and left alone. Okay? That is something that is very personal, and you are entitled to, and anyone is entitled to handle their own personal issues to the best of their ability any way they see fit. And it should not be an issue here. And at the community board or anywhere else, certain accommodations should be made. And I hope that they are. So I want to basically state that for the record. Okay? I'm going to say that hindsight is fabulous and a better decision. You know, at the end of the day, Debbie, you have to get up very early in the morning. I've actually been at meetings where I've heard other people say that. Sometimes they leave early for that reason. Sometimes they make different decisions. But at the end of the day, that's something that's personal. And it's separate. A meeting should be over and there should be a procedure in place for all of the meetings, regardless of whether you have to get up at 5 or Cynthia has to get up at 6, or I just like to sleep in. That's all personal. So that shouldn't, in my opinion, shouldn't be factored into any meeting. Okay? I think that more than one person, ideally, it should be a procedure for them to close. If I had to close tonight, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I don't know how to. Okay? So I think that we're going back to procedures. Okay? I think that it's totally appropriate to say the meeting is over. Everyone needs to leave. You have, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever to do so. That gives them a parameter, and it's the same for everyone, so you're not targeting other people. I think in terms of the other things in the complaint, we all need to get better at following the procedure and the protocol and applying it to everyone and applying the code of conduct to everyone, because I have yet to be at a meeting where multiple people don't violate it, speak out of turn. So we're not there yet. And you are not the only one. You know, we all need to get better. So I'm going to state in all of this the community board as a whole should remember the paperwork we signed when we got on the board, what is expected of us, how we are supposed to conduct ourselves, how we are supposed to act. The fact that the majority of these meetings that I have now been to where we're discussing cases, it's because of too much personal and not enough, there's not enough balance. And I think it comes down to trainings. I think it comes down to procedure. I think it comes down to a lot of things. And I think that we also need to be mindful and sensitive because people have gotten kicked off the board because they weren't allowed maybe the same parameters and the same measuring formula as another person. We have to be very careful that we are fair in our treatment of everyone. I also think that we have to have some introspection. Because if people, sometimes we perceive ourselves one way, and the people that love us perceive us one way, but others may perceive us differently. And perceptions can be valid, but at the end of the day, perceptions. So do I honestly think you could do some fine tuning? Yes. But so could I. And so could everyone in this room. So what I'm going to say is we clearly need to, because I don't think there is one presently, in terms of the end of meetings. It could be beneficial then to create a policy. And then we can be, I think, a little empathetic. I might, if it's freezing or snowing or raining outside, give people a few extra minutes. And if that's something you're uncomfortable with, because it makes a difference. Last time this meeting ended, like 8:15, we're going to 9:04 and we're not there yet. And I think that the longer the meeting gets, human nature kicks in and we could get a little crabby.
Why you think I'm quiet now?
Okay, so we have to get better. We have to get better as a whole. And this may not be the resolution everyone is looking for. I think we need to improve.
Can I just add? I'm gonna second that. You guys know that when I came into the community board, it was tough. And we have done a lot of change. We're able to have some conversation. We can have conversations now to a point where we get things done, but there's still a lot. And
Yeah.
we would read that code of conduct when I first started, and everybody just, and I think now we're getting into learning that and respecting. And I have to say this to Debbie. Debbie, girl, you scream, you yell, you all that stuff. But I have to say, Debbie's never done it to me. I've never done it to Debbie. And I think it has to do with respect. I don't know. But I thank you because I'm trying to teach my students that. But we need to start doing that here.
We need to.
We need to. And I think if we continue doing that, we are going to be amazing because we have amazing people on this board that do so many things. I wish I can do parts of everything that you do because I'm so busy with work, but you guys do amazing things in this community. And I'm only hearing it because I'm in the board. Do I see it sitting at home and stuff? No. So we need to do more so that it's out there so that people can see it. I just needed to add that, but thank you.
So what I'm going to say, and I second that, what I'm going to say is I think this committee's recommendation again is going to be for added protocol, procedure, and structure. I'm also going to say that you've heard a lot today.
Madam Chair, can I please?
Use it to your advantage. I will
15 seconds.
use it to your advantage. Okay. Miguel, you wanted to speak.
Yes, I'd like it to be clear that I think that we're losing the baby in the bathwater here. Diana and I were grossly disrespected. And I think that there should be, and I realize that disciplinary is a very bad word, but again, as you stated, certain people were removed from the board for for certain kind of behavior, and I really feel like something should be done concrete because this is ridiculous, and I really honestly think that again we have to remember this is not an this is an honest complaint from me. Diana was there. The assertion that we're lying is ridiculous. And the assertion that it didn't happen the way it did is ridiculous because it's on video. So I really think that there should be something done. Thank you.
Man,
Go ahead.
I think one of the things that we need to bear in mind, and it's been mentioned before here and at other meetings, is that we are held to a particular standard. And our behavior is expected to be a certain way. I'm not saying about being a Stepford wife kind of thing, but, you know, we are supposed to be fair. We are supposed to be professional. We are supposed to be, you know, somewhat impartial. And, you know, trust me, I get the frustration of being here in the office. Listen, I got up at 5 this morning. I worked a 12-hour day on labor and delivery. I didn't have a break all day, but I'm here and I'm gonna see it through because it's what I signed up for when I agreed to be on the community board. The fact that I'm at multiple meetings on a monthly basis and I'm exhausted, whatever, I signed up for this. And, you know, I don't think, like you said, that's something personal that we have to leave aside. We have a responsibility as board members to do the work. And sometimes that comes at an inconvenience to us. I also think that, again, tone is everything. And I would ask myself, you know, would I speak this way to this person if I were at a funeral? Would I speak this way to this person if I was in church? If I would speak to them differently in a different scenario, then I guess we have to evaluate, why am I speaking to them this way in this room? Does that make sense? And I think this is something for everyone to try to, you know, do a little reflection on because, yeah. And I think we have to be fair how we treat people. Because I have seen it at other meetings where certain people are treated a certain way, certain people are not, and it's not fair. So we have to do better.
I think perception is a very important key thing here. So I may say something to Debbie and I may mean it one way, she may perceive it a different way. So that's difficult to quantify and say, yes, disciplinary action should be taken or this and that. So I think we need to look at everybody and how everybody behaves. I think there's also personalities. Jeanette is a very quiet personality. She uses a very quiet, everyone's calm when Jeanette talks. You know,
I feel like I'm in a library.
What?
I feel like I'm in a library.
Yeah, she's just a very calm voice. And Debbie, I like you. You have a stronger personality and a stronger voice added in the hearing component, and that may compound the perception that you're being loud and maybe more intrusive. I think we do have to respect different personalities.
Can I say something?
Sure. If that's not my, if Jeanette.
It's like my hand now.
I let's go by Jeanette.
1 minute, Grace.
Okay.
Are you going to speak?
Oh, okay, I thought you said to wait a minute.
No, 1 minute.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is not about personality. This is about a person's attitude and how they treat people that they like and people that they may not like or whatever. You know, she has no sense of decorum. She treats people that she's not. I'm just saying. Listen, I have a minute. Let me have my minute. I'm saying,
No,
interrupt
no.
anybody.
We're not gonna degrade people.
I'm just saying you're missing the point. It's not
Can we
about
mute?
that.
I wish I could have stopped.
All right,
Okay.
but
So. Please, read her. I mean, she's-
making excuses for her.
Okay.
She's got her hand raised.
It's about content, not personality.
Okay. 1 minute and then we're done.
Understood. So I see there's still this point of contention on what the context was in perhaps someone's understanding of what was happening. So I'm seeing a lot of notions, both verbal and written, about, oh, hey, why not this person? Oh, hey, why not this person? As I understand it, two of them are board members also responsible for closing up. One of them could have been speaking to another member of the public, also trying to get them to wrap up and leave, as I understand it. And I feel like that's missing in all this, where it's being treated as if they are separate instances when everyone is in the process of trying to get everyone shuffled out, as I understand it. One person might be over here, they're speaking with an elder, so perhaps that person's tone may be a little different. One person may be more obstructive in as they are not necessarily ready to leave, and it needs to be reinforced. Again, yes, I think it is great that there is the suggestion to put this policy in place. Great, can we do that?
We will do that. Hopefully we will do that. It will be suggested.
Christine has her hand up.
We're going to stop, and this is what I'm going to say. We'll be all night. So I was going to bring this up in new business, but I'm going to bring it up now. Debbie actually emailed me yesterday, and she was asking about whether or not these meetings had to be open to the public. And I said that this is something that certainly could be discussed at a later meeting. But it would seem that if these, and her concern was that too many of these meetings turn into character assassinations. She didn't use that word, but that is a good terminology. The purpose of this committee is not to do that. And if it has in the past, I just think it's a disservice to the committee and to the community as well. At the end of the day, this is not what we're here to do, and I hope this committee seriously changes and evolves. Do I think that at the end of the day, Debbie has some culpability in what happened? Absolutely. She's a leader. She was here. She could have handled things differently. She didn't. She's also a human being. Okay? That doesn't give her a pass. It's just a statement of fact. After all of this, and after sitting here tonight for quite some time, hearing this, one would think and hope that some introspection is going to take place and some changes are going to be made. Do I think that all members of the community are treated the same by Debbie or by this board in general? Absolutely not. In fact, I have spoken out at different meetings because different members of the public are treated differently. And that's not what we're here to do, and that's something that we have to get a lot better at. But it has to come from the entire board. And are some of us better at it than others? Yes. Are some of us more accountable than others? Yes. But we're all in different places of our development. And my concern is that the dissatisfaction with this resolution is because, I don't know, no hammer has dropped. Debbie isn't being punished, for want of a better word. I think either that is relative and points of perception, because I think part of this meeting was pretty punishing, in my opinion. So I don't have another thing that I would like to add on to this unless another member of the committee does. I think it has been addressed. I think we are all aware that in this situation, most likely Diana and Miguel were not treated well. Or as well as they would like to be. Can we go back and change that? No, but we can make it so that hopefully it won't be repeated and it will not happen again.
As the author of the complaint, I would like disciplinary action to happen.
I think you need to have them stop jumping in.
Yeah.
Our session is over.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry.
Lisa,
Okay, so I will also point out that it's difficult to ask us to require someone to do certain things and follow certain standards when we're not all doing it at the same time. The committee has made a decision. I'm sorry if, no, the committee has made a decision. If you do not agree with it, I guess you can try for another complaint. But for tonight, our resolution is we are going to get better as a full committee because until we do, these situations are going to continue to happen. If a board member does something that is so egregious that they should not continue to be a board member, then that is something I believe for both the full board and the borough president. But even if everything that was stated is true, it's behavior that can be corrected. It's, in my opinion, not egregious enough behavior to warrant anything more serious. I'm going to move on. We do not have any motions.
You know, if you're supposed to be at the gallery session now, I'd like
Okay.
to say something.
Okay, so we'll go to the gallery session. Nobody did actually, only one person registered. They've already spoken. Bob, would you like to speak? You have
Yes,
2
I-
minutes. Lisa will tell you when to start. Ready?
Ready?
Okay.
It says cases 117, 119, and 120. What was case 118? Because I filed something on April 28th of this year. Is that case 118?
That is correct.
And is there a reason why it's not being heard?
That is also correct.
No, I'm asking, is there a reason why?
Weren't we told?
It was referred to legal and therefore cannot be heard.
No, that was 116.
That's 116.
16?
Yeah.
Because there's a simple solution to 118.
I'm not familiar with
I don't know which one.
118. I know the ones that we were supposed to look at.
If you would like me to explain,
No, that's okay. We will follow up on when
it's not going to be heard until September then, if anything.
that is correct.
Because while I have my 2 minutes, all I'm asking for is an apology for not being able to speak at the full board meeting when I had requested time, as I normally did in the past.
So again, we're going to follow the procedure, and since the board is not prepared to discuss it tonight, it will be tabled. And you will be, if you are the complainant of 118, you will be notified when it will be heard.
Right.
Okay? Any old business? Sorry.
I want to say it.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, 2 minutes, I promise you.
Okay.
So you draw the code of conduct statement like a gun. Respectful and equal to the birth and privacy of all persons by respecting values, differences of culture and opinion, refraining from unpleasant or disparaging remarks and other actions. At the last CB11 meeting, somebody told us that Roxanne might have a mental issue on the board. She brought that right out. Nobody stopped her, and she just said Roxanne has a mental issue. You then said that you're gonna table it to June. The rabbi left, Dave left, you figured, oh, we got it. Then half the people didn't even vote yes or no. So again, Roxanne can't come here or there to speak. She's probably the smartest person you've got walking around on 2 feet, remembers everything from everything. But now she's been, we're gonna do it in June, then all of a sudden they tabled it again. So I don't know how that happened, but I guess you do what the board wants, not what the community wants. I'm done.
Okay.
That was quick.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to say, your suggestion of making some kind of process for when the meetings are over, it's very, very good. But I think that we also need to consider what we do when the community refuses to adhere to that process also. Because if they refuse to leave at a certain time, what are our availability of getting them to leave? So that's something that we need to address too, because
Okay,
as much as I love a lot of people in the community, we do have pushback from some, and they don't always respect what we're asking them to do too. So we have to look at it 2 ways.
okay. So I believe that is everyone. Okay. Any old business? Any new business?
I have a motion.
Yes.
Motion to end our meeting.
Okay, we have a second. Meeting adjourned at 9:25. Thank you, everyone.
And I am gonna run out. Everyone have a great evening. Get home safe. I'm gonna.
Bye-bye, y'all.